What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Head Ass Garage. In today's video, we're going to be installing a new Mishimoto radiator onto my S2000 because the end cap on top of the radiator that I have now has a pretty good sized crack in it, and it's leaking a decent bit of coolant, and it's going up on my fenders. It's all over the engine bay. So went ahead and ordered a new Mishimoto radiator from Throttle. I'm gonna take measurements between the fan bolt holes to make sure that they'll line up on the new radiator before I go ahead and toss it in. Let's get started. So as you can see, I've already tried patching my radiator with a JB Weld radiator patch kit. However, it did not work and it's still leaking. And as you can see, it's kind of getting all over the place. I did have some going up the sides of my fenders as well, which I was not very happy about, but I went ahead and wiped that off already. I'm gonna go ahead, get measurements done. Just measuring the distance between this bolt there, and same for that fan to make sure that lines up the same with the new radiator. Right now, trying to match the stock fans up. And as you can see, it is just slightly off. The actual studs that these bolt into are fine. They're good width apart and it matches the OEM spec. However, these tabs that they welded on down here need to be pushed down maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. All right, so I've got both fans on there now. I went ahead and just bent these tabs back so that I could get it on there. Now I'm gonna try bending them back up so that it looks a little more clean and it's not as bent as it is, but they are in. All right, so we got the old radiator out and the new one ready to go in. Just so you know, and if you're doing this yourself, it's pretty easy. All you gotta do is disconnect the top and bottom radiator hoses and the temperature sensor here. This new Mishimoto radiator has a provision for the temperature sensor, and it has a new petcock, so you won't need to transfer the old one over. So you can see the thickness of the radiator there, and it's not very thick by any means. Whereas this one, yes please. So we'll go ahead and get this thrown in, update you when it's done. All right, so you will need to transfer these little mounts over to the radiator. However, they come right on and off, not very hard at all. The S2K has provisions in it for these to sit inside of, so I'm gonna go ahead and just toss those on and then it should sit in there well.
There you go. Heck yeah. All right. Let's see if she fits. Josh and I are really worried that the DC intake he has will not fit with this bigger radiator because the tube goes right down here.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it will.
No.
It's not looking promising.
Dude, this thing looks so good in here. Wow.
All right. So this is how we're looking. We got to fill it up with coolant still. However, that is the new modified air intake. It's just been shortened a little bit because it used to have a bend that went down there and there's just no room for it as of right now. Yeah,
This piece right here.
that was the bend. So now we're sitting there. And one thing that you will, if you're doing this yourself, you're gonna need to unclip the fans from their harness right here. Same thing on this side. Unclip it here and just that temperature sensor right there. Sorry about the quality. We just got to fill it up and then get all the air out of it and see where we sit.
All right, so we got the coolant in, radiator cap on. We squeezed a couple of bubbles out of it. But as of right now, we are having no leaks, which is phenomenal. No leaks, we are in the green. That thing looks sick.
So it's now the next day and we're encountering a couple problems with this new radiator. The main one being that I'm actually having overheating problems, and this top tube is always very hot while this bottom return is very cold. What that means is it's not circulating the way it should, and the thermostat isn't kicking over because it's not getting hot enough on the return side to make it circulate. So I'm going to have to drill some holes in the thermostat once I get it out. However, the thermostat is not in the best location. It's sitting behind the alternator, but I'll update you whenever I make some progress. All right, so as you can see, the thermostat is now out, and I went ahead and drilled these holes in it. And what that's gonna allow it to do is circulate the water even when it's not up to temp, because it wasn't circulating back from the bottom, which is why it was cold and the top was hot. So this will allow it to circulate a little better, and I'm gonna go ahead and try getting this reinstalled. It was not easy to reach. I'm gonna go ahead and get this put back in, get it buttoned back up, and refill it with coolant again. The modified thermostat is in its housing and connected back to the block with the holes drilled in it. So now we have some water circulating and the car seems to be holding temp a little better. I'm gonna top it off once it's done bleeding through and take it on a drive and see how it does. So since you guys have seen that last clip, I've taken the car out a little bit, let a coolant bleed through the system and make sure everything's working right, and it seems to be holding temp a lot better, and there's actually circulation going through the motor and through the radiator now that there are those holes in the thermostat, and the thermostat is still opening how it should once the coolant reaches the temperature at which it opens, which I believe is 78 degrees. So it seems like that mod works and the radiator should be doing well. Up next, we have a little surprise with the car that should transform the way it looks a lot. So yesterday, Marcus and I drove down to Long Beach. Excuse the mess. I'm in the middle of packing to move right now, but went down to Long Beach and picked up this carbon fiber hood. This is a spoon hood. Got this and a Master Grade 2 carbon fiber trunk. So my trunk on the S2000 is starting to fade pretty bad. And honestly, this is probably the least reflective part of the car. You can see all that gloss reflection over there, and then you get to here and it's very dull. There's not much gloss to it, and the clear coat is really just starting to say goodbye on it. So the trunk is what I really wanted, but can you really turn down a spoon hood? I don't think so. No. Turned one of my old cars that I used to drive, my old Pathfinder, into carbon parts. So we're gonna go ahead and get these installed on my S2000. I'll set you guys on time lapse and we'll get started. So this is now several days later since the last clip you guys have seen. Marcus and I got the hood installed. However, it took hours of tweaking and it's still not 100% where we want it. It can use some massaging. However, we're pretty happy with where it's sitting right now. There is still some minor adjustments to do.
And there are some things that we had to do to make it fit. Like we had to shave off the new Mishimoto Radiator cap because it was hitting the bottom of the hood.
Only a very, very small portion of it got shaved.
Amount, but it was just enough to lift up this side of the hood like a quarter inch, so we had to do it.
Yep.
And then we put weather stripping in around it to make it look more complete.
You can see some of the weather stripping in there. So we threw some more in there just to, like Marcus said, make it more complete. We've been driving it the last couple days. It hasn't been moving or budging under any sort of driving conditions, and doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon. I absolutely love the way it looks. Oh my gosh, the front of this car just got like 10 times more aggressive. My goodness, does this look good. Wow. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on the trunk next. I had to order an all new motor for the trunk because mine was weak and wouldn't open it fully. And the problem with this new Master Grade trunk is there's no hole here for the key cylinder to open up the trunk. So the only way for me to open up the trunk is electronically using the latch inside of the glove box. That will be my only way of opening the trunk after this. So I had to make sure that this motor was nice and new. The old one was too weak whenever we'd click the button to get it to work. Also, we had to replace the 15 amp fuse just underneath the driver footwell. Had to replace it because we were getting no signal from the trunk button to the motor itself. So we replaced that fuse and now we can hear the motor trying to open on its own. However, it's just not strong enough and I had to order a new one. So I'll go ahead and set this on time lapse, get that new motor put in, and then we'll transfer everything over to the Master Grade 2 trunk and we'll update you guys once we've made some progress. Okay, so I didn't get any footage of me switching the motor over. The new motor came with wires, both ground and the blue, I'm assuming, power wire. They both came with prongs that looked like this when they needed to include the prongs down there. It was missing that entire top prong, so I went ahead and just cut it off of the old motor, spliced it together, and now it's working beautifully. I've already attached it to the old trunk to make sure that it works, and the motor does work. It sounds a heck of a lot stronger and it pops the trunk on its own. I'm gonna go ahead and get this transferred over to the new trunk and then we'll see how it works. All right, we've got the trunk on now, and same thing as the hood. It fits pretty good. There is a little bit of adjustment that I'm gonna need to do, mainly being right here, it's a little close. On this side, there's some room, so just some minute adjustments to get it exactly where we want it, but it is on and looking very good. Also, the trunk release button works. However, my battery is dead, so it may not pop right now. Let's see. Nope. All right, unlucky. Trunk does work, opens the way it should. However, because we went from a probably 15-pound trunk down to a 5-pound trunk, the springs that are in it that help it to open are a little too strong, and the second that it pops open, this thing slams open pretty aggressively. However, shouldn't be too hard of a fix. It's on there, it looks good, and the car is looking completely different. We're gonna go ahead and head out around sunset, get some nice clips of this car, and you guys will see that. All right, and with that, the new hood and new trunk are on. They look incredible. Fitments still could use a little bit of adjustment, but it's looking good. I'm happy with where it's at. So yeah, with that, thank you guys for watching another video from Head Ass Garage. We appreciate you guys clicking that subscribe button or clicking that like button or really just giving us a view. If you don't mind, leave a comment. If you're new around here, please press that subscribe button. It helps us a lot. Also, I want to apologize for not uploading last week. Life's very hectic, as I mentioned in this video, and as you can see behind me, I'm in the middle of packing to move. We're gonna try to get lots of content out for you. With that, S2K is looking beautiful. Again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.